Hello everyone, welcome to 20 plus minutes of suffering presented by CK. In all seriousness, we have the Opnus Memolis on the table here. It's a Japanese way too high security lock, and it is very similar to the Opnus MMX or MMX Mark II that I was also the first one to pick. So that gave me an advantage. Like the MMX, it has 14 levers, which have true and false gates. There are false gates on some of the levers, and they are awful to deal with. But that's not all, because all the standard levers, which I would like to call them, are also very much not enjoyable. So yeah, like the MMX, this is also rekeyable, and here you can see the key. To rekey this lock you would need a change key, which is just a longer version of this key, I expect. And the major difference, or actually pretty much the only difference with the MMX versus this lock, the Memolis, is the keyway. As you can see, this is a sort of dimple keyway where the bitting is on the side and the key is reversible as well. So how I think about it is that this would be the Opnus equivalent of the Miwa PR. So the MMX would be the U9 with a keyway very similar to the U9 actually, and then this lock would be the Miwa PR with a keyway similar to the PR, although slightly bigger, because you can use bigger flags than the MP10. Still means that you have to use flags though, which is great. It makes it harder, okay? I've picked this lock once before. I'm gonna try to do it on video again. It's tedious. It's just really hard. In my, I don't think it was my last video, but in my world's first on the MMX, I said that it was the hardest lock that I've picked. I have to update that now. This is the hardest lock that I've picked. Because just like the semi-open, you can just use hooks keyway on the U9 versus, oh my god, nothing fits but a MP10 on the PR, you have to use flags on this one. And the keyway, as far as I could do it, doesn't allow for a super nice tension setup. So what you'll see me do is put a tension on the left side of the keyway and pick the right side of the keyway, or put a tensioner in the middle with something sticking out to the right and then pick the left side, because I didn't have a tool that would just fit snugly in the middle. I'm sure if I was better at tool making I could make something, but I really didn't, because if you just stick something like a normal, I forgot what these are called, in the middle, it'll just stick out to one side, so it wouldn't stay there. But yeah, if you had a tool that would stay in the middle, so you could just switch flags instead of switching tension then flag, that would be great. But I couldn't do that. So throughout the video, you'll see me switch from side to side quite often. Yeah, furthermore, like I said, the false gates aren't the only problem in this lock. The false gates are about as effective or more effective than the U9 gates. I would say about as effective, but that's not necessarily the problem. The problem is that there are, I think, 6 wafers that have false gates on them, and then there's also 8 other levers, I should call them. I call them wafers from time to time, forgive me. They are levers. Yeah, there are 8 other levers, and it might sound weird, but I feel like they're tapered in a way, because the reason why this lock is so tedious is not because like the jiggle test doesn't work or feedback is weird, which they are. It's just that I've picked this lock for so long that I can finally understand the feedback well enough now to pick it. It's that the levers, you just have to tap them and tap them and tap them, and it becomes this really tedious process of constantly having to tap these levers because they act tapered, and then every time you set something out of a false gate, some levers drop, and then you have to tap everything again a million times. So basically, if you there are a certain set of levers that you just have to tap, 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 and only then you find the next major, oh, this was in a false gate. Okay, let me set that false gate. And then you have to tap, 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 tap all those levers again, and then you found the next false gate. So what I'm going to be doing is, I know where the false gates are, so I'm going to try to preset as much as I can, but if I miss anything, I would have to pick basically the whole lock again, with how long it takes. Anyway, that's enough ranting for now. This is seriously a super hard lock. I've only picked it once before, just before this. So I thought I might as well try to get it on video now. So like I said, we're gonna start with a tension in the middle and starts on the left side. I'm using a right-handed hook. I'm using the MP4 and the MP5, I think they are. So at least this keyway, since this lock is slightly bigger than normal locks to begin with, it allows for something bigger than an MP10. So I can use the 4 and the 5 right-handed for the left side, left-handed for the right side. Which is good, but you still have to use a flag, which is not ideal in my opinion. Anyway, let's just start with picking. Man, already I'm just resetting the lock because I think I screwed something up, which you just can't do in this lock. It's not allowed. You can drop wafers if you've overset them, but of course you have the chance that a lot of wafers are going to drop with that wafer, because this lock will take any and every opportunity to drop levers on you. My god, I love calling these wafers, but people will get mad at me because they are very much levers. Anyway, we can see me switching tension now and then switching my flag. Just switching from the 4 to the 5. Yeah, I'm basically switching every time I don't feel anything binding anymore. Or when I'm done trying to preset. Because this lock will allow you to preset things. If it kind of fits in the binding order. If it's way off from the binding order, it doesn't allow you to preset it, just like the U9 wouldn't. What I'm saying about this this tapered effect that we're having, maybe you could call it ping pong effect as well. Well, I guess that's a byproduct of being tapered. A think wave is, I don't know, like 2, 4, and 5 on this side, on the left side. I think I've set them 3 times already. Okay, just to give you an idea of where we're at. And probably what's going to happen is I'm going to set them another 2 times each, and then one lever is going to bind. somewhere. And it's gonna feel great, because we'll get the tiniest amount of rotation on the core, which is a good sign, and pretty much the only sign this lock gives you, if you can even feel it, because it's the most subtle core rotation you're probably ever going to feel. And then we're probably going to have set both sides 5 times again until something new is going to happen. So if you're not some kind of genius / master at navigating this keyway, it's crazy. It's just so hard. That wasn't some kind of flex, that's just saying how hard it is. That came up the wrong way. You gotta be quite proficient with navigating these keyways, even with a flag. It's kind of like navigating the PR keyway, just 16 times over. I can probably pick the PR like 5 times in the time it takes me to pick this lock. Which says quite a lot, with PR being as hard as it is. Because it's not just the wafer design, right? It's also the tolerances. The Japanese and the crazy tolerances. Okay, I don't trust this. My tensioner was hanging on for dear life, or at least it seemed that way. Okay, we're good now. I saved it, potentially. Imagine dropping tension after like 20 minutes of picking this. Okay, we're good. I had to drop a lever again because I set it too high, which means I'm probably gonna have to do another round of tapping everything. It is my punishment I must endure. Yeah, on the left side, setting lever 5, 9 and 11 is something I do, I don't know, 15, 20 times every time I pick this. It's just routine, really. You just repeat it until something interesting happens, which usually doesn't end up being too interesting anyway. There we go, lever 4, lever 6, 8, leave it 10, 14. The way I'm counting them is like, because the first wave is right here, and then I go right, left, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and on and on. So all the equal numbered ones are on the left side, all the unequal ones on the right side. That's how I wrote it down in my notes as well. The reason why you see me using my middle finger for tensioning is because I picked this so much today and like the past weeks that this was starting to hurt. So that's why you see me using a different finger. Even though index would be easier. That's what I used too many times already. This lock really is an endurance test if I've ever seen one. It's been a while though since I used it, so I might switch back. Okay, I'm confused on which levers we are on. Yeah, so at that moment I was trying to figure out if a lever was even binding or not. Because if it wasn't binding and you set it, you overset it. Sometimes quite easily. And then you get to tap a lot again as a punishment. Just to get to the point where you were. I say this lock is really like an endurance test. But that's only partially true, because it really only ends up being an endurance test if you know what you're doing. Like differentiating feedback from levers, if they're binding in a false gate, in a true gate, it's way hard. And even just then, I wasn't even sure. And I've been picking this for a month or so. Just on and off. Probably even more than a month, because I had exams and stuff. So I wasn't picking as much as I wanted on this lock. this is my bubble wrap. It is there to protect my elbow. I apologize for any sounds it might or probably is making. But if you see how red my elbow is, you'd understand, hopefully. In before elbow reveal when. Man, I should really keep track of how many times I've set certain levers, because that'd be quite funny. Something we can almost be sure of is that on the left side, lever number 10 always drops, like always. So I think every time I've switched tension and then went back to the left side, it's also the same amount of times I've set lever number 10. I think that's a fair assumption to make, because it just does not stay up. So much so even that if I go back to this side and I go through it and I feel lever 10 and it's not binding, I know I'm really close to the end, like almost open levels of close. That's how much lever 10 drops. Close contender on lever 11, actually, on the right side. Not as much as lever 10 though. Lever 10 is probably the worst offender in this lock. But 11's definitely number 2 probably. definitely probably. Nice going, CK. There we go. 10's binding again. Because why wouldn't it be, honestly? Wouldn't be a Memolis pick without lever 10 binding every second. Speaking of special levers, there are actually 2 standard levers. Let me just check the right side before I talk. I thought I was close, but 11 was binding. I might be close though, because I only tapped it very slightly, which is interesting. There are 2 standard levers actually. So this lock's pre-keyable, so all the levers are actually cut in 2 halves, with the inner lever being connected to the outer lever. The outer lever has the gates and then interacts with the sidebar, and then the inner lever interacts with the key, and then they're connected at a certain point, which makes up the bitting of this lock. But yeah, the one in the front, because they are levers 1 and 14 in every MMX or Memolis as far as I know. The one in the front actually binds really early, and then the one in the back only really binds once you've picked the lock. Really, it's, for me, it's always the last lever I set. Okay, let me just double check. Okay, remember what I just told you about lever 10? It's not binding, which is insane. That never happens, all right? It never happens, except when you're really close. And what I just told you about lever 14, so the back one, the back standard lever, only binds once you're almost open. And it's binding. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna double check, quadruple check if you will. I'm gonna check the right side, even though it might not be necessary, but I've been cheated once before where the standard lever was, so lever 14 was binding, but then it didn't end up being, I didn't end up getting an open after that. And I actually overset it and got in trouble with that. So like I said, 11 was a close contender, and that's actually loose as well. Which hopefully, and this hopefully depends, hopefully might be the difference between getting another world's first or not. Right here on camera. Hopefully it means that the lock will be open after we set the last standard waver. So 2 is loose, 4 is loose, 6 is loose, 8 is loose. I actually lost track of where my pick is rotationally. And I'm shaking right now, so that doesn't help. Okay, 10 is loose, 12 is loose, and 14. Will this be it? Okay, let me just physically and mentally recover here, because it's currently 4 AM. Every normal human being's asleep, obviously. So that's why I haven't talked as loud. Not that I talk loud anyway. I'm barely understandable in my normal videos. But yeah, we got it. We got another world's first on camera. And of course I'm gonna prove it to you and whatnot, but let me just enjoy the moment for you. No, I'm just messing with you. Let's get this open. Let me see, what's my space here? Okay, just double checking so I don't take the call out of frame. How dumb would that be? That's some, like, what was it? Orange belt maybe? Green belt mistake? A classic mistake, but not something I would like to do for fun right now. Since, well, I don't know how long this took, but it was probably more than 20 minutes, like I said. Because of these tolerances, man, I just can't This is crazy. Anyway, I'm going to show you the interior, and the interior is pretty much going to be very similar, if not almost the same as the MMX, which means the same amazing tolerances, same unbelievably hard false gates. Even the standard levers are insanely hard. But I really think that either the tolerances or what I'm describing with the tapered effect of these levers, it felt more pronounced on this lock. Like the MMX was hardest lock I've ever done, and they're both like, they are the top two of locks I've spent the most time on. But the MMX didn't take 20 minutes plus to pick, you know? But with this keyway being harder to navigate, the tolerances being just as tight, maybe even better, and tap, 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 and the tension setup where you constantly have to switch between sides, it just takes a long time. Anyway, let me drop these things out. Oh, still in this position actually. Let me see. Let me wiggle that around for you. See that it's picked. And lock it back up. I'm holding the core in with my finger at the moment, because I already dropped everything out beforehand. There you can see the core inside of there, and here you can see all the mess that you have to go through to get to the core. So what I did was just remove these 4 hex screws or grub screws, whatever you want to call them. Then dumped like the actuator and stuff out. Since this is a pretty weird format, but I actually like this format because you can keep your fingers here and get some feedback since it's close to the core. Some other more standard Japanese formats don't really allow for that too much. I have an example here, like this one. If you have it on your vise, you touch this, which isn't necessarily connected to the core. Anyway, I won't try to stall too much. Let's just get the core out. You can see that these 2 metal bars almost falling out as well. And then it's kind of like a faceplate, this is. It goes right under here. And this is the core. Very similar to the MMX. I think I already touched something, so the levers might be messed up already. Anyway. Let's get this closer. So here's some mess. Let me show you the sidebar. There are all the levers. You can actually quite easily see all the parts that come into play, or at least touch the levers. Like all these little squares are the levers touching the sidebar. So actually, maybe now that I think of it, this could be used to see if someone's tried to pick the lock or not, depending on how easily it wears. You can see that these levers have been staying on for a longer time than those. And here, since this doesn't protrude all the way to the top, only these bumps do, you can see that these bumps rub against the core while you're applying tension, and they're also the metal showing. The coating's being partially scrubbed off. Now for the core, you can see all the levers. Some of them are false gates. Show the key. I don't know if it works still. Let's see. It does still work. Almost. I think this lever is almost. Some of them are trying to escape. Because this lock, while you're trying to reassemble it, it has a lot of points that can mess that up for you, like touching these bars, for example, or touching this bar. Because if you pull this bar downwards towards the center of the core, it actually disconnects the levers. Yup. You see, it's completely misaligned now. And I don't even think that was me touching it necessarily, because I already felt it when I just held the core upside down. So then the bar, it dropped down, and then the levers disconnected, and then gravity pulled all the levers downwards. Oh, I guess I was looking at it wrong. But at least 2 levers are misaligned now, as you can see. Let me just show you what it would look like, what I was trying to reference. If I pull the bar down here, there you go. Now everything drops that way. And I think the levers on the right side are being held up by their springs. But yeah, in this position you can freely move them as you wish. Like that. Wow, this is pretty good. So what I'm doing now is I'm aligning the gates. And actually, I mean, this is pretty much the end of the video, right? I think I'm gonna make a video after this, describing how you would fully got this lock, because I'm not gonna be doing that now since this video is already way long because of how insanely difficult this lock is. But just as a tip, if you don't watch my video on how to fully gut and reassemble this, let's say, because this is pre-keyable, let's say I want to make this key work again, right? I've got out of the core. At the moment, it just makes a mess. As you can see, nothing's aligned. What you do, this is just a tip from me, you pull this bar down towards the center of the core. You put it upright, so this is all with the key in. And then you take a pick, you hold it upright so gravity doesn't screw you up, and then you align all the levers. Okay? Like that. And then once you're done, you push down. Okay? So I think this is aligned enough. And then once you've done that, okay, I just wanted to mention, once you've done that, don't touch anything, because if you touch, sometimes these bars will do it as well, but especially this one, and I just accidentally touch it, and you can see it's already misaligned. So once you're done, don't touch anything, put it like that, and slowly move the key out. And then once you put it in again, it should work again. But I touched this by accident, and this is already misaligned. Anyway, some other fun stuff. This is the housing. You can see the sidebar groove over there. And then I think this is the groove for if you want to rekey it. Let me just get some light on there. Okay, it doesn't really help. This is the stuff you put in the back. This is connected to the actuator. Here is the actuator. Random stuff. This is the faceplate. And this has been the Opnus Memolis. I very much hope that you've enjoyed the show. I'm sure I didn't. Okay, that's not quite true. I enjoy picking this, but man, is it tedious sometimes. I find it very interesting to pick challenging locks like this, especially when, well, no one's done it before in this world, I imagine. But this lock's tolerances and tapered levers, and oh my god, 20 plus minutes of picking is just not fun for anyone, I imagine. If you've made it to the end of the video, you're an absolute legend. And yeah, I thank you all for watching. That's it. See ya.